in the wonderful screen. Yay! Yes, clap, clap.
Yes, yes. Yay,
Um,
yay, yay, me.
and she came all the way from fantastic Florida. Oh wait, now it's my head. Wait, sorry, some IT issues. Let's put the photo back to her if possible, because yeah.
It's good. I like seeing you.
Um, so I will keep going and tell you guys how awesome Ina is. I've known her for a little bit. She's made helped me get more wise. I don't know if I kept the wisdom, but that's why I'm here. Yeah. So today she's oh, and have you noticed her fantastic glasses? Once we spotlight her again, I think her glasses look fantastic.
This matches the hair. You know,
It's and this is coming from an optometrist and eye doctor here. All right. Without further ado, she Ina is going to be talking about from shrine to street, the practice of humanistic Buddhism. She's our focus on lay Dharma lecturer, and she wants to. She's going to be talking about how rituals. How do we um understand the path from ritual services to humanitarian service, and how to practice. All right. So I'm gonna let Ina take it away.
all righty. Oopsie. Okay. All right, there we go.
Are you unmuted?
Oh, probably not.
Can everyone hear?
Yes. However, the display is a little bit strange here.
You're going ahead of my slides.
Yes, 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 yes. Okay, let me. Zoom. Where is the Zoom?
Oh, there's
Okay, Zoom
there's
is right here. Okay, let me just do one more time. Thank you for all the.
We're
oh,
doing some technical stuff right now. There will be a slide soon. Yeah. Any questions, feel free to type it in chat. I will not attempt to answer, but tell them to answer. Yeah.
Yes.
Um,
Okay.
are you're getting reverberation and echo. Are you still getting that? Is it there's two of us talking, maybe? Maybe
Is the
turn
TV
off
muted?
me and then I'll let Ina talk.
and am I unmuted? Oh,
Yes,
okay.
you're
Thank you.
unmuted. Yes.
Well, good night, folks. We had a good evening. Welcome, welcome all. Thank you, Marissa, for your kind introduction, and to you, Venerable Miao Zhang, for the invitation to share this evening and to be able to be here in San Diego and at Sifang Temple. Again, it's I start to say it's one of my favorite places. I can take the one of out of that sentence. And I want to thank all of you who are here and the Zoomies. Thank you for being here. And I thought of doing something a little different this evening. I said, if it doesn't work, we'll deal with it. But what you see on the tables are pens and papers. And I'd like for each of you to take a piece of paper and a pen because we're going to do, like I said, do something a little different. And if you're Zooming, take a moment to find a piece of paper and a pen so that you can jot some notes. What I find is that often if we just listen, if we just use our ears and we don't use our tactical senses, we sometimes don't get as much out of something. So that's the plan there. Our topic today is what I think of as from shrine to street. And it's going to be an exploration of what we call humanistic Buddhism. As you see outside the temple and in the temple, Venerable Miao Zhang has a way of communicating the meaning. She calls it community in the temple, temple in the community. So I would like to start with you. You know, this isn't a new thing. I want to start with you with a very short history lesson. And it's the story of a gifted young boy who became a monk at 14. And you might be thinking you know who he is, but unless you've studied this, you probably don't. He was a bright, gifted young man that was born in China in 1890. His name, and if somebody, whoopsie, what happened here? It won't go forward. The cursor's not,
At the lower left-hand corner, there
the
should
arrow's
be
not
arrows.
going.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it won't go the other way either. Oh, there. Okay. Oh, it was probably taped on there. Oh, all right. There we go. His name is Master Tai Shu, and I will ask someone who speaks Chinese to please pronounce his name in Chinese. And what is the
吕布林，吕佩玲，吕佩玲。Okay.
Lu Peng?
吕佩
Okay.
玲。
It's Chinese frightens me because of all of the the tones, so I will leave it to you. This is Master Tai Shu, and you can see that he was born in 1890 and then died in 1947. As an adult, he went on to see, oh, I went too fast here. As an adult, he went on to see the need to reorient Buddhism from looking backward. He often saw that Buddhism at that time emphasized prayers for the departed, and he says, let's focus on the present. And he planned, and we need to plan for the future. He really believed that Buddhists should look forward and find ways to practice serving the living. He was a reformer. He had ideas for reforming everything, just like a good reformer would. He wanted to reform the monastic system, reform methods of study of the Dharma, reform daily responsibilities, and he countered government systems that were not responsive to people's needs. And he believed that lay people had a real important part in serving the communities also. So he advocated interfaith dialogue so that religious practitioners could learn from one another. And he advocated adopting successful outreach modalities to meet people's needs. And he learned a lot of that from the Christian missionaries. He also learned some things that he didn't appreciate or didn't like as much, but he said the Christian missionaries had a way of reaching out to meet people's needs, and he encountered the Christian missionaries both in Asia and in the West. So you can imagine he ruffled many feathers in the Chinese conservative community. And his opinions were quite strong. He and his views were generally opposed by the monastics at that time, and he died at the age of 57 without realizing his reform methods. In fact, at one time, I think he spent about 3 years sort of sequestering himself to sort of get his bearings, as we would say. And all the pictures I've seen of him have sad eyes. But he left behind many writings that provided inspiration to a next generation of Buddhist leaders, especially a young monk that we know, the Venerable Master. The Venerable Master never got to meet Master Tai Shu, but he read and he quotes him very often. So in many ways, Master Tai Shu was a guiding light to the Venerable Master. What I see is that the Venerable Master's work and practice, belief system mirrored in many ways what Master Taishu was trying to do about a generation ahead. And as we know, for you who are part of the Foguan Shan community, you know that Venerable Master Xing Yun is also no longer with us, having died. It's hard to believe it's 3 years already. I never got to talk to him because I do not speak Chinese, but I got to hold his hands a couple times, and that still is meaningful to me. But I think both of their legacies will live on if we make them live on. They're not going to live on just by reading and saying what a great person this was, but how can their teaching, excuse me, their teachings, their reflection on the Dharma, give us the ability to go forward and actualize what they didn't get to finish. So one of the things, because Master Taishu wrote a lot, which influenced the Venerable Master wrote volumes of works. So that's a lesson to all of us. Write letters, write poems, keep diaries, write your thoughts, your prayers, make a little pamphlet about something that's important to you so that you leave something behind to your friends, your family, your children, your grandchildren, so that what you envisioned for the world can become their reality. So you see, the Venerable Master implemented much of Master Taishu's vision. Think of BLIA, we call it, Buddha's Light International Association, which is sort of the lay wing of the bird, of the monastic side and the lay side, so that we work together. And BLIA emphasizes a lot on education, culture, cultivation, self-cultivation, and service to others, reaching out to enrich the lives of others. And Master Taishu often said that ritual without practice is meaningless. And we'll hear a little bit more about him later. But I read an article about the Venerable Master that, in my words, he says, basically spending time chanting and studying sutras isn't meaningful if you don't put that ritual and teaching to work. And that's where I think of it as shrine to street. Master Taishu called his approach Buddhism for the human world. We call it Humanistic Buddhism. Many of you have read Thich Nhat Hanh. He calls it engaged living. And Venerable Master Miao Zhang calls this practice temple in the community, community in the temple. It's the same thing, off the cushion and on the road, wherever and whenever that road leads us. And as I said, I think of it as shrine to street. A lot of times Westerners, especially those of the Judeo-Christian backgrounds, ask me, what is this humanistic Buddhism? I thought Buddhism was just Buddhism. Even our Dharma teachers, when they're asked, what's humanistic Buddhism? They struggle to explain it. And I explain it this way to Christians and Jews and general public. Think of social ministry. And that really causes me to think back of what probably Master Taishu heard. The whole purpose of social ministry is to see what people's needs are and meet those needs. Think of the people now who are traveling to Venezuela. And one of our dear friends and members of Foguan Shan is in Venezuela right now with his mother, that he had to move from their home to a shelter because of her medical needs. And when you say social ministry, a lot of times then, especially in the West, people get it. So we have different words that mean the same thing. And what I would like for you to do now is to think of your definition, and that's the first thing I would like for you to write. How would you, in simple words, answer the question, what is this humanistic Buddhism anyhow? So if you can think of some words, a phrase that you would use when somebody asks you what Buddhism is. And this is the thing we're doing a little differently this evening. Shrine to street, engaged Buddhism, meeting people's needs. What is it to you? We often call humanistic Buddhism because we're in a fast-paced world, HB. And that's our short-term term when writing and sometimes when speaking. But as you see, it has 6 characteristics. And these are the characteristics as explained by the Venerable Master. And I have looked at other HB practitioners and monastic leaders, and they basically say the same thing. The words might be a little different, but we're looking at humanism, daily life emphasis. So that's something up in the clouds. It's something today in our daily life. Joyfulness. A lot of times we call it appreciative joy because pain and suffering comes to everybody's life. But we can find a joy if we understand life. Altruism, caring for others deeply, wanting the best for everyone and finding a way to meet that need. Timeliness, we'll look at timeliness, and I have maybe a different approach than the way the Venerable Master explains it, and universality. So both monks and Master Taishu and Venerable Xingyun and many believe that this way of life is a calling and can be practiced by all people. Not just monastics, not just Buddhist lay people, but all people. Those of our flock, that's a Christian term, our members, or our devotees, what we call members of Foguan Shan, and others, regardless of their culture or their color or their theistic or non-theistic practice. Because we believe that daily living is a spiritual practice. So now let's look at these 6 characteristics, and that means I did it. I hit the button and it worked. The first one is humanism, and what is meant by that is that the Buddha was a human, and we are human. Therefore, the Buddha is our role model. He wasn't a spirit or God or an imaginary figure. He was a human being who was born into a family just like you and me. Well, not quite like you and me because he was born into a royal family. He was a prince and led an extraordinary life. But he left that cushy existence to learn, to contemplate. Why do people suffer? How can they be relieved from that suffering? And he gained a wisdom that he didn't keep to himself. He shared his findings with his followers, and now 2,600 years later, he's sharing them with you and me. He imparted the wisdom through his ordinary human existence. And he walked the dusty roads. There's stories about coming back, having gone on his alms rounds, and setting down his bowl, washing his dirty feet, sitting on a cushion to share with others. Um, and I believe that in that process, he gave us the Noble Eightfold Path, a path of wisdom and of contemplation and moral action. As I said, he was a very, very human. He probably also had tummy upsets, and if he were here in our country in the last few years, he probably would have had a bout of COVID too, because he was a human being, just like the rest of us. So the Buddha is us, and as we say, we are the Buddha. So sometimes followers ascribe otherworldly characteristics to this enlightened person. But a young man, this is one of my new favorite stories, a young man between 12, 13 years old who is part of Ohev Shalom's a bar mitzvah, couldn't think of the word, bar mitzvah class was at our temple recently. And we were outside, and I do a comparison and contrast between Buddhism, Christianity, and Judaism. And, it's fun working with the kids. And we were out front for the picture. And I turned to one of the little boys, or young boys, and I said, "Tell me one thing, just one thing that you learned today." And he said, "The Buddha was a dude." And then he looked at me, he said, "He was a dude, not a god." I said, "You got it. He was a very wise, loving, compassionate dude." And I just think that is so important for us to remember that sometimes we use words or we correct children instead of listening to them, because he got it, that some of us sometimes don't. So now, here's your second assignment for the evening. Oops. Write down one characteristic that defines you as a human worthy as being a role model for others. Just one characteristic. Because, we're all role models, whether we want to be or not, because people see us and they sometimes they emulate us in ways that we wish they wouldn't. And other times we give other people faith and hope. So the next characteristic is daily life. And when I look at daily life, I think about what the Buddha did in think about he started this, and more and more people wanted to renounce and be part of his community, and they were from all parts of all strata of society. In fact, one was his barber wanted to become part of the monastic community. And when you get this, my studied educational word is polyglot, so this polyglot of people together, you have to find a way of organizing them. And he developed the 6 points of reverent harmony, which really focus on daily life. And I think that they have application to us. So I'm going to share a bit about that. You see them here, what they are. For view, he talked about common goals. So my thought is, do we in our families, our workplaces, our temples, our churches, our neighborhoods have agreement? Do we share a view of where we're going, where we should go? Do we elaborate a debate respectfully, learning from one another? Is our view guided by a deep understanding of life cycle of right view as explained in the Noble Eightfold Path. So now what I'd like for you to do is think about how you acknowledge, how you understand the interconnectedness of all beings. How do you think of that? How are we all interconnected? The next is morality. Um, the Buddha told his flock, I like the word flock, um, that we have to be guided by precepts, by rules that tell us how to respect life, how to be honest and trustworthy, to say what we will do and do it, and with a joyful spirit. Do we see equality among all people? You know, one of the things that he did was accept the renunciation of I think it was a prince after the barber, because then the barber had seniority over the prince. He was teaching something there about the equality of people based on their heart and mind and not their social status. Do we see the equality of all people? No distinction between culture or class, young or old, frail or healthy, even law-abiding and lawbreaker. Do we see the equality? So, next job for you. Oops. There, I went too fast. What is your moral code? What is your guiding principle? What keeps you on the straight and narrow, as we say? What gives us a direction, especially times when we feel a little directionless, whatever. The Buddha also looked at economics. That within the Sangha, the community, it was important to share resources, not equally, but based on need. We can share our resources too. And in the not-for-profit world that many of us have been part of, we talk about the 3 T's: time, treasure, and talent. And we need to think, are we prudent in the use of our time, our treasure, and our talent? Even do we see the economy in environmental protection, that it's not just a money thing, it's also the use of resources. So now think about what time, talent, or treasure you use in your community? You all do it. You all give something. Think about what you give. I come from a family that was basically a middle-class family. Not a lot of money to toss around. My mother's parents, my grandparents lived with us. And when we lived in Southern Illinois, there was the train tracks were right across the street from us, going through the center of town. And men in those days, they called them hobos, would get off the train, and sometimes they would knock on the door. And my grandmother would always make a sandwich for them. And one time she fell and she broke her arm. And somebody said, well, Anna, you need to quit doing that. And she said, and understand in those days the word devil was a form of endearment. She said, but that poor devil was hungry. She gave her time, and she gave her treasure of a ham sandwich. Sorry, Venerable, it's a ham sandwich. Then the Buddha also talked about our mental state. And he was talking about how, as a community, are we singing from the same page? And even in these days of social and political unrest, I wonder, do we open dialogue? Are we so far into our corners that we don't know how to communicate with one another? Do we find a path forward that benefits everyone? And can we work toward a common understanding and shared goals? And yes, we get frustrated, but do we manage our frustrations and our egos with dignity? So think about what change you've made or can make to bridge the gap between yourself and another person. It could be a family member, it could be a worker, it could be somebody protesting at the protesting you at a protest where you're protesting. What can you do, or what do you do, both to bridge that gap, to use our mental ability and our mental skills to find a common ground? Then there's the whole thing of verbal. The Buddha says, sort of like watch your words. And morality requires a level of honesty. But sometimes, are we honest to a fault? Well, your problem is, how often have we heard ourselves do that? Meaning that we're too blunt, too combative, too accusatory in our speech. We talk about kind speech here, but are we always kind in our speech? Do we communicate with gentleness and respect, even when corrective action is necessary? Even when we have to say, can't do it that way, or that was a mistake, or that was hurtful. So how do you use gentle and encouraging speech? So fill out the sentence. I use gentle and encouraging speech by. Then the last of the six, I, I dropped my toy. I usually have my uh, rubber band here. Um, think about giving space to people. Are we overbearing, or are we not there when they're necessary, when it's necessary? Do we give space to people to breathe and grieve? And one of the things I think of is when someone is grieving, say, well, it'll be better tomorrow. Do we give them space to feel their pain and then be there for them? Do we allow people to express joy and custom in a way that feeds their soul? Well, we never did it that way. Or tell me how you do it. So how do you get out of the way to give people space when they need solitude? And by solitude, I mean not stepping on their joy or their pain. So, my friends, what you have just written is your humanistic Buddhism plan of attack. So now I want to share rest of what humanistic Buddhism teaches us. And the next is joyfulness. We say acknowledge life as it is, accept cause and condition. Everything changes, everything's impermanent, and that sounds so wonderful. And it can also be a platitude, or it can be a deep belief. And we might talk a little bit about that later. But the Buddha also teaches us that we should give people joy, a way beyond their disappointments, disillusionment, discouragement, what we call suffering in Buddhism. And we're reminded that joy comes from an acceptance of our cause, condition, and effect. Like I tell people when I talk about this cycle of life, I say, nobody gets out of this alive except for me. We always want to think that this impermanent cycle is going to affect everybody over there instead of us too. And the joyfulness comes from knowing that today is the product of yesterday's, and that the present moment will be tomorrow. It will be the past, and we'll have an opportunity to go forth with equanimity, a calm understanding of the world. And we can resolve to dedicate ourselves to compassionately respond to life's changes within ourselves, within our family, within our community. And joyfulness also means smile. The Venerable Master wrote an article on smiling. And the first BLIA meeting I went to was at one of our members' homes. And I was sort of the new English-speaking kid on the block, and they were wonderful in helping me be comfortable and welcomed. And Venerable Chifan shared that writing of the Venerable Master, because she saw that people were, they get so busy and they get, and she said, the Venerable Master said to smile. Think of what we give another person. I hear here, as I'm laughing and stuff, I hear giggles, that we can give people something just by our countenance. Also in joyfulness, we have the wisdom to let things of minor consequence go. It's really not that important. It's not that important. But we change things that need to be changed for the betterment of the world. And joy is expressed in many ways, through music, prayer, chanting, study, lively discussion, playing peekaboo with a baby, even giving comfort during times of loss and sorrow. A person begins to smile when you're there holding them and crying with them. It's that you're not alone feeling. And that's appreciative joy. It's different than haha joy. It's a deep joy. So think about what brings you joy. And how do you share that joyfulness? What brings you joy? A hot cup of coffee on a cold morning? It could be that simple. And how do you share your joy? If you just keep it to yourself, it's a gift that could be given to others. Altruism. This is my favorite picture of all the pictures and the depictions of the Buddha. This is my favorite. Because the Buddha's whole purpose was to bring love and joy to all people and to compassionately care for all people. This depicts the end of life of a member of the community who wasn't the best of guys all of the time. And the other monks were sort of letting him be. And the Buddha says, we'll care for him too. Not because of anything other than he has a right to our love and care, to care deeply for them. And here the Buddha's doing what I call even the stinky stuff. If you've cared for somebody dying, it's stinky. You have to change bed linen. You have to change diapers. You have to be there for that person. And the Buddha was, and we are. And the Buddha administered to this man the same as we would our mom or our child. And I think of altruism as a deep care for others and caring without judgment, caring simply because the caring needs to be given. No other reason. People often come to our temples and churches, our social groups, often with many scars, sometimes testing our resolve to be there for them. Are we there for them? No judgment, no precondition to our caring. Do we find the time? Do we take the time? Or are we so busy and so self-involved that we don't see the need in front of us? The Buddha would find a way to do this. He nurtured all beings, and he's our role model. So think about how your care and loving kindness shone through this week. What big or little thing did you say or do that gave care to another person? And if you say nothing, then you got some work to do. That's Mama Denton speaking. And kidding, there's some mornings, there's some weeks or days we just need to care for ourselves. And that's okay too. The next is timeliness. And this is sort of my take on timeliness, which is not quite accurate. It's not the right word, but it's just my take. We say that the Buddha's ideals, and teachings were necessary for his time and are equally timely today. But to me, it means a little more. It means that we do what is wise, caring, and compassionate when the need is before us. Timeliness is now. Do it now. It's not tomorrow. It's not on a to-do list that we lose on our kitchen counter or underneath a stack of papers on our desk. Sometimes timeliness means that we do something even before we finish this call or that text. Oh, I'll be with you in a minute. Well, maybe that person needs you now. So think about what need of yours, talking about other people, what need of yours can you meet today? Timeliness is also about self-care. Self-care, self-love, self-preservation. And if you haven't done something that met a need of yours yet today, well, I said down here before the sun sets, I think the sun is set. So before you go to bed, do some self-care. The time is now. And the last is universality. When we talk about universality, we talk about the whole world, universe, cosmos, that we care for all people everywhere, all sentient beings, and the air and the water, and the earth upon which we all depend. And there's a reason why I have this picture of this little dying puppy, I think, a little doggy, with a park service person covering up the dog. You know what it makes me think of? It makes me think of the Buddha caring for the dying man. Because it's still caring. Caring for this puppy is as important as what the Buddha was doing for the dying man. And you know, the Venerable Master talks, the reason why I have the picture of the globe or whatever, yeah, I guess it's the globe down there, is that the Venerable Master talks about global citizenship. He urges us followers to reach out beyond our usual boundaries, our comfort zone, and to serve others, and to see others as us and we as others. He reminds us we can't really say we care for beings if we trash the very things needed to sustain life. It's kind of like the reduce, recycle, excuse me, repurpose mantra. We cherish all of the diversity and biodiversity that's within our universe. And a reason so what I'd like for you to think about here is, what do you do that serves the universe beyond your immediate familiarity, sight, and hearing? What do you see beyond what you don't see? What do you hear behind what you don't hear? What do you care for beyond what you know? It's kind of that employing that wisdom thing, that we know that all of this is tied together. So, summary. I have right down here, summary. I hope that you can reflect on this evening's thoughts and jots, which is an internal survey of our practice, of our being. We use the word practice a lot in Buddhism, but it's of our being. Humanistic Buddhism, social ministry, engaged living, whatever we call it, is a conscious practice of care based on our faith's teachings. A respect for the dignity of all beings and their and our right to justice and care. A belief that we are all one mass of bodies, thoughts, atoms, neutrons, sinew, and skin, floating along in a biodiversity that sustains life. When we believe this, when we truly believe it, when we constantly study, be it scriptures or science, philosophy or sacred texts, how we can better others, therefore bettering ourselves, we strive for a just and welcoming community, nation, and world. We should strive to do more than remember the teachings of the Buddha or whomever is our spiritual guide. We should become those teachings. Be the Buddha. So, to sort of pull all this together, I want to share quickly what we call the divine abodes or the four immeasurables. When people in my class, I will ask them, how do you measure these? It's when you don't do it, right? Yeah. That's the only way you can measure it. And what what the Buddha said in these immeasurables is that we should be loving and kind at all times, from a smile to greater action. Compassionately take on the grief of others. That's the way I think of the difference between loving and kindness is I'm kind to you. Compassion means I really feel it. I become you so that I can truly understand your grief, so that then I can help you in a way that is beneficial. And equanimity means that we maintain a calm countenance and wisely see the world. Not just see the world, but see what role we should play in that world. And by understanding that life constantly changes, we have a promise that brings us joy. Master Taishu talked about practice. And if you look at this and you think of the word, he uses the word fruit. Instead of thinking fruit, think outcomes or purpose. He says, if one believes and understands but does not practice, then the teachings and principles are useless. Fruits are accomplished by practicing fully. If one doesn't practice or does not practice fully, the fruit is not accomplished. If the fruit were accomplished anyway, then it would simply be fate, and one would have nothing to do with it. Therefore, that which has force and necessity is only practice. I hope this evening you've had an opportunity to do some inward thinking, looking, and realizing the beauty that you are, and that your social ministry will be to your community, to this wonderful community I enjoy visiting so often, and that you also are good and kind and practice what we call humanistic Buddhism inside in yourself. Because your goodness is, even in these days of so much pain and angst, your goodness is what gives me hope for the future. So did this work? So we're going to do something a little tonight. How do we do what? Is there somebody who wants to say something somewhere?
Hello, I am the moderator.
All right.
I am just going to read that Gail says, putting the Buddha's teaching to practice when you were asking about how do you define humanistic Buddhism. You can't hear me? Oh, I was just reading the comment. Someone says it's a fantastic talk. This is online.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And then that someone else commented that this was putting a Buddhist teaching to when you're talking about humanistic Buddhism, putting the Buddhist teaching into practice. And someone says, thank you. What I love about this temple is the humanistic Buddhism. The teachings don't have much meaning if they're not incorporated into real life, mine, and others. And do we have time for a question or two? So either anyone online or in person, if Ina's here, feel free. Okay, I will shoot then.
All right, shoot.
How do you remain hopeful despite the pain or whatever else is going on? How do you continue practicing humanistic Buddhism when, say, the receiver or whatever you're interacting, not whatever, the situation you're interacting is not facilitating that, shall we say?
Yeah. Oh, I'm still, I thought I had to hit a button, but I don't. I guess, in my 84 years, it's given me an opportunity to take the long view and I think now with the pain that our country and other countries are going through, I have faith that people of good faith will change, maybe not yet have their voice, but will find their voice. And sometimes we have to have a lot of pain in order to change. And I think that's what gives me hope. And there are times when I think, oh no, I can't listen to the news anymore. I can't, but then I think it's an evolution. And we talk a lot about impermanence. And that's true. Everything's impermanent. But what part can I play and what part do I see other people play in a way that evolves a problem into a promise? And yeah, I think that we can be Debbie Downers. What's the male version of Debbie Downer? I never, but we can either find fault, yes, but or we can say yes, and what part can I be in the change? I see what you do here. I see feeding the puppies on the street. What does that do for people? They know this is a place of caring. So sometime if something happens in their lives where they need support and they remember that somebody was kind here, they'll walk in the door. And that's what gives me hope. I guess. We all have our days of despondency, and we shouldn't ignore that, but we shouldn't leave it there.
Just an FYI, this is Peter died, so impermanence.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yo, hey, I love it.
Hang out with you for a second.
Okay, all right, Marissa, well, we can talk about my glasses, right?
Yes, and if there's any other online questions, I'll hop in.
Oh, is there something here?
Yeah, so I'll double check.
Oh,
So just letting everyone know, our TBIF other computer died, so that's why I'm hanging out with Ina here. And I just want to let you know that from Saint, your questions are very thoughtful, critical. Examples are really relatable.
Good, good, good. I was wondering how this would work, giving an opportunity for all of us to think a little deeper instead of just using our ears.
So since it's 8:31,
Oh.
I guess we well, I gotta like tell people about other things now. And besides, well, first of all, she will be here tomorrow from 2 to 4, giving a talk on from chaos to peace. I would like to attend, but I have to clean my house. I'm not sure how that works yet.
Yes.
Because my husband's here.
Go to your house and just look them up.
It's pretty chaotic right now. All right. Anyway, that's my confession. But she will be here teaching wisdom on how to find peace in the chaos. And then for the next TBIF on July 31st, 2026, it will be on taught by UCSC sociologist Richard Marsden, The Practice of Compassion, Humanistic Buddhist Ethics for the Modern World. Sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's a cool way to put all this in practice.
Sorry, I only Googled you and read about you, and then you looked so familiar, but obviously I wasn't seeing clearly. Well,
You need better glasses.
I do. Yeah. Well, so thank you in advance.
You want to say something? No? He's keeping it for next.
Any other questions, last minute thoughts, all good? So should we dedicate dedication of merit?
I think this would be a good idea.
Yeah. All right, so we'll raise our palms and for dedication of merit, may kindness,
Compassion,
compassion,
joy, and
equanimity
pervade all worlds. May we cherish and build
affinities
to benefit all beings.
May Shan, Pure Land,
and precepts inspire equality and patience.
may
Our humility
humility and gratitude give rise to great vows.